I believe that your calling as Christian Gentiles is not to buy us more tanks or build more religious schools. Your calling as Christian Gentiles is first and foremost to provoke us to jealousy. And we need to be jealous of your relationship with our God, which is only available and only possible through Jesus Christ. Amen. Okay, this leads me to reason number 3. And that is what our rabbis teaches us about Jesus in those synagogues and religious schools that some of you maybe helped build. Okay, let's talk about the word Jesus, about the name Jesus. The connotation of Jesus in the West, like Europe and here in the States, is usually pretty positive. People might not like Christianity, they might not like Christians, but they're usually okay and maybe even positive with Jesus himself. If you take Jesus to Islam, he's a great prophet. It's positive. They don't see him as the Son of God, but he's a prophet. It's positive. If you take Jesus to Asia, they already believe in 300 million gods? What's one more, Only in Judaism is where Jesus has this extremely, extremely negative connotation. We already saw why, but there is more to it. I'm going to share with you a short history lesson. Okay, almost 2,000 years ago, back in 132 AD, a guy called Simon Bar Kokhba led the third Jewish revolt against the Roman Empire. When halfway through the revolt, Rabbi Akiva declared Simon Bar Kokhba, who by the way was a soldier famous of his barbaric cruelty, to be the Messiah. In the beginning of the revolt, the Jewish followers of Jesus agreed to help in what seemed at the beginning to be a campaign to fight for and protect the land of Israel and especially Jerusalem. However, after Rabbi Akiva's declaration that Bar Kokhba is the Messiah, the Jewish believers in Jesus had to withdraw from the revolt because obviously this dude is not the Messiah. We are not going to follow him. Rabbi Akiva and the Sanhedrin took it really, really bad, and they considered us to be traitors of Judaism from that point on, leading them to create rules against Jewish followers of Jesus, in order to basically kick us out of the synagogues, kick us out of Judaism. These laws forbidden other Jews to even associate with followers of Jesus. Until today, 3 times a day in every synagogue, they repeat the Birkat Haminim, which is benediction concerning the heretics. Guess who are the heretics? A prayer that is basically cursing Jesus and his followers. And we, as followers of Jesus, we cannot pray that prayer. Therefore, we cannot be in the synagogue. Therefore, we cannot be inside the heart of Judaism. Later on in the Talmud is the Jewish Holy Scriptures, the rabbis added awful, false stories about who Jesus was. One example, it says that his mother, Mary, committed adultery with a Roman soldier, and that's how Jesus came about. Another story says that Jesus was an idol worshiper who got his powers from Satan. Sounds familiar? Another story is of a guy named Onkelos, who was a Tana. A Tana is a great rabbinic sage. And in his case, he was an expert in mediumship. Mediumship is the ability to communicate with the dead. Or maybe I should be pointing down. According to that story in the Talmud, they asked Onkelos to communicate with Jesus from the dead, and so he did. And he asked Jesus, again, that's according to the story in the Talmud, not my opinion. He asked Jesus, "Where are you and what is going on with you?" And Jesus replied, "I am in hell, and my punishment is to be boiled in feces forever and ever, because I was a false Messiah and a false prophet." There are more awful stories about Jesus in the Talmud and about us, the Jewish believers, but I think you've got the idea. In Judaism, Jesus is considered to be the worst enemy of all times. Jewish people look at Jesus as the blame for anti-Semitism in the world. Now remember, in Jewish history, any kind of a spiritual message that somebody wanted to bring in must be first approved by the gatekeepers, who are the Orthodox rabbis, who used to be the Pharisees. We see that in the New Testament. And they rejected Jesus and his message. And Jesus himself accused them in Matthew chapter 23, verse 13. "Scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you shut the kingdom of heaven in people's faces." And for 2,000 years now, Jesus is kept out of Judaism. And for these three reasons, you now understand why Jesus is the best kept secret in Judaism. By the way, I realize that what I've just shared with you about Jesus in the Talmud can cause your heart to react in bitterness and hatred even, enmity and resentment against Jewish people, which can lead and will lead to anti-Semitism. But please choose compassion and grace like the heart of Jesus when he was on the cross. "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." Amen. So now you understand why most Jews do not believe Jesus to be the Messiah, and why Jewish evangelism is so difficult like no other. Now, how is all of that relating to what is going on today and to the conference today? To make things even more difficult for you, if you take Jesus' words in Luke 13:35 as futuristic, which is, by the way, as the way most scholars do, this means that Jesus is not coming back until we, Jews, accept him. Luke 13:35, "You will not see me again until you say, 'Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.'" And Jesus was talking to Israel. So we have a problem. We all want Jesus to get back, right? Don't we? But the gospel is being kept a secret from us Jews for 2,000 years now. So that's why we've been waiting for so long. So I shared with you some bad news, and I told you in the beginning I want to encourage you, not to discourage you. So let's move to the good news. There is a group of us now, Jewish Israelis, followers of Jesus in Israel, who found a way around those gatekeepers, bypassing the rabbis. We no longer need their permission because we don't go into the synagogues to share the gospel. I know some of you who've never been to Israel before, you probably think that we still live in tents and ride donkeys. That is true, no. Some statistics, 99% of all of Israel is connected to high-speed internet connection, even outside of the homes, even if you go to the beach or anything like that. We are first in the world in the amount of time we spend online surfing the web, 60% more than the average here in the United States. Every 100 Israelis will own 122 computers, which is also first in the world. I own 3 computers. If you ask me why do I need 3, I don't really know. We are first in the world in the amount of time we spend on social media and specifically on YouTube watching video clips. So, you know, when your children are taking a shower and having dinner, we are on our laptops watching video clips on YouTube. So, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that means that we can meet Israelis where they are at. And that is not the synagogue. That is online, on the internet. Now let me tell you something. We know how to relate to Jews and Arabs because we know how to share with our own people. It's not somebody foreign, it's our own people. Not, we don't share with them the Jesus that they were taught about, which is, from the movies, usually a Gentile Jesus, a blonde Jesus, blue eyes Jesus, European Jesus, who's been hanged, dead for 2,000 years now on a Roman Catholic cross. That's not the one we are sharing. We share with them Yeshua. Yeshua, the word Yeshua means salvation. We share with them Yeshua, the Jewish Israeli Messiah, who loves them so much that he gave his life for them. A Messiah that was resurrected, and he is alive, and he can change their lives as well. Amen. Okay, how do we do that? How do we share with them? Most of our work is in the Hebrew and Arabic language, but we also have some content in English that is available for you. I will quickly run with you over a few things that we do. When you come to Israel, or as an Israeli, if you walk into a secular bookstore, you can find any kind of book on spiritualism and religion besides one book. You will never find the New Testament in Hebrew in bookstores in Israel. So we make sure that it is available for them in any possible way for free. We also operate the one and only Christian radio station in Israel. We produce testimonies of mainly Jewish people who came to know the Lord, but also Arabs and Muslims. Okay? And basically, we have three main testimony series that we do, Hebrew, Arabic, and English. And on the screen, you're going to watch now a 2-minute short teaser of the Hebrew ones with English subtitles.
להיות מוחשב כאחד משונאי ישראל זה מצב מאוד מאוד לא נעים.
ובאיזשהו שלב נורא פחדתי מהזהות של עצמי.
מה יקרה? מה יגידו ההורים שלי? מה יגידו האחים שלי?
לא יודעת איך אנשים יגיבו.
עם ישראל הוא עם קשה עורף. כשאתה מאמין בישוע, אנשים יקללו אותך.
קיבלתי איומים על החיים שלי.
לקבל יריקה, לקבל דחיפה, לקבל החרמות וכן הלאה.
אנחנו הולכים לעשות הכל כדי שאתה תפסיק להאמין. דחייה, שנאה, איומים.
לא רציתי להפסיק להאמין. אבא שלי התחיל להרביץ לי. קיבלתי מכות.
רק בגלל שאני מאמין בישוע.
אסור לי לדבר על זה.
ולכן האינסטינקט הוא להסתיר את זה.
אף אחד לא צריך לדעת על זה.
התביישתי בזה. זאת האמת. איך זה שעם שלם הולך אחרי הוראת שקר?
האם מנסים להסתיר מאיתנו משהו?
2000 שנה משקרים לעם שלי.
תקשיבו.
ישוע.
יהודי לחלוטין.
הוא חיכה 2000 שנה.
ישוע הוא אל שדי.
הוא משלנו.
הוא המשיח היהודי.
הוא מת בשביל כולנו. ישוע קפץ למים להוציא אותי.
הוא נתן לי חיים במוות שלו.
איך אפשר לא לתת את החיים שלך בשביל מישהו שעשה דבר כזה בשבילך?
אין מצב שאני אגיד לזה לא.
האהבה הזאתי.
אהבה מושלמת.
אנשים זקוקים לישוע.
איך אני יכול לשמור כזה דבר בסוד?
אני יהודי שמאמין בישוע המשיח.
כבר לא חיפשתי להסתתר.
אני לא יכולה להתכחש בתוך תוכי. והחלטתי פשוט ללכת אחריו. אין יותר אמיתי מזה עכשיו, כבר כל המדינה יודעים על זה.
הרגשתי חופשי, ממש חופשי וקל.
You know, we love, inside the church, we love to concentrate on how Satan is using media, don't we? Now you can see how God is using the media. Let me share with you a little bit more. On the screen you can see some statistics. We also do a lot of Jewish apologetics, which is answering rabbinic objections against Jesus. And as you can guess, there are 2,000 years worth of objections to deal with. And just as no Catholic person would ever speak against the Pope, Jewish people do not speak against the rabbis. That's the authority. Okay? But we do. We came out with so far 150 short videos quoting the main rabbinic objections against Jesus and answering them, as well as teaching the messianic prophecies in the Old Testament and sharing the gospel. A lot of that I turned into a book, translated to English, and you can get it. It was released in January of this year, and it became a bestseller pretty fast after that. You can get it later on. You know, in those videos, it's not videos from old religious rabbis, but from young male and females, which is very refreshing in Judaism, especially to see a young woman, because a woman will not be talking about God in Judaism. So this whole situation in the last few years led to two things. First, people now recognize us on the streets. We've made it to the national news a few times. We basically became the face of Christianity in Israel. The second thing is that some famous rabbis are after us. We got used to getting death threats all the time, and I actually had to move, relocate. So about 2 years ago, this kind of famous extremist guy, religious guy, he's very involved in politics, posted my picture and my son's picture on his Facebook page, and you can imagine the things that he wrote. The very next day, in our backyard, we found this huge bag full of feces, which was a reminder to us that we're gonna end up just like Jesus. So we decided we're gonna move to a place that it's a bit more difficult to throw things into. So we moved to the 18th floor, renting an apartment. I really pray that that guy, who is very much like when Paul was Saul, will turn into a Paul. It's not easy, I know. You can see on the screen the kind of things that they say about us and their faces. Those are rabbis that produced videos against us. And they usually don't take the highway, as you can see. But we love them, and you know what? I would give up my life to see them getting saved.